We're sorry for the delay, but we have a stellar panel and a stellar chat lined up for you just before I think they call this the graveyard shift, because much after this, we're going to be obviously the audience for a fantastic band that we all saw warming up. But now we want to talk business. We want to talk about Telco to Techco. And I think that's going to be the topic that we will be discussing. May I please request my stellar panel to join me on stage, and everyone, a huge round of applause. Software for telcos. Yes.
Mr. Rajaraman, Saurabh, absolute pleasure to have you with us here at the India Mobile Congress. Saurabh, I'd like to start off by asking you, when we're talking about 5G, and of course the potential that it has, as tech enthusiasts, we know exactly what low latency networks could really do in terms of the digital transformation journey of a country like India. From your dealings with telcos and all the learnings at Accenture, what are the top 2 or 3 use cases, according to you, where 5G can be a game changer?
Well, thank you, Aayush, for that question. But as we begin, firstly, it's been a long, long day. And for all the people who have been here, I think we have witnessed and been a part of a very, very special day, a momentous occasion in the history of India. So feel free to give yourselves a big round of applause. Guys, okay. Today, I think, whilst we have been a part of history, we'll probably be, hopefully, a part of a legacy as well. So a great, great moment, and really jai hind to all of us. Having said that, now to your question, Aayush, and thank you for putting it together. So let me first start by saying that the way mobile phones brought in the power of computing into the palms of people, 5G is going to bring in the power of quantum computing and real-life decision-making into the fingers and touches of people. Right? So that's the simply the elevation and the leapfrogging of real-time decision-making that can happen with 5G. It is going to obviously impact multiple aspects of the society, economy, business, efficiencies, and aspects of corporate and social life, and impact both on the consumer side as well as the enterprise side. Correct. But we do believe that whilst the consumer side will have its own gains and various benefits, a lot of the benefits is going to be skewed towards the enterprise side, right, which telcos, cloud providers, system and software companies will all come together to essentially enable for various corporates. And to specifically answer your question around 2-3 top use cases, and I think made this comment also earlier, frankly, I don't think we know what are the best top 3 use cases today. Right? So if just imagine 10, 15, 20 years back, somebody would have asked you, what do you think would be the top use cases? What a 4G or a digital revolution have brought in about, you wouldn't have thought about the kind of things we do today. You wouldn't have thought about the instant payments. You wouldn't have thought about, the kind of streaming that you see today. Having said that, I think 2-3 sectors which is going to have a massive impact clearly is manufacturing. Manufacturing as an industry lends itself naturally to a fair degree of 5G-led digital disruption. Simply put, today, especially in a country like India, where you have manufacturing plants in the hinterlands of the country, and you deploy a series of workers, worker safety, which I think today was shown by V as well, is a very relevant 5G-led instant decision-making case study. For example, when a worker approaches the machine may actually refuse to start if the worker is not wearing a protective gear. Right? As simple as that. The second use case which I can think of is something around, let's say, healthcare, which is again the second sector which I believe will be absolutely disrupted by 5G. Enough has been said about connected ambulances, connected hospitals today. Airtel also showed a great case study around it in the morning in the stalls with the PM. And I think, again, that's another use case which clearly will be looking at the healthcare industry. So I think manufacturing and healthcare are clearly two which lend themselves naturally to 5G. And there are quite a few more which will obviously come into the play, but let's wait and watch how the space is.
Well, you put it really well. Secretary, sir, thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure to have you with us. And some of your insights will be very valuable to the audience, of course. The first thing I wanted to ask you was when Saurabh was articulating how the ecosystem works and how it's a collaborative effort of everyone in unison, one key element that has been the driver for all of this has been policy support and the push from the government, with several schemes such as Digital India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. How do we see this evolve now with the launch that has obviously happened? How do we see this evolve in the coming days and months? And how crucial will that support be to the ecosystem that he was talking about?
5G, I mean, as he has already said, would depend upon a number of enterprise use cases. I mean, and given the special features which it comes, like network slicing and many other features, low latency, etc., it can support a variety of applications which would not be possible with the earlier generation of technologies. While the broad-based consumer consumption of 5G would be, of course, voice and video calling and so on and so forth. But for the enterprise customers, this technology would make a lot of difference. So today you must have seen when you walk through the exhibition that many of our players have actually developed use cases, also have deployed use cases, I think in some cases, and also developed applications specific to use cases as well. Like for instance, there are companies which have developed networks in a box, I think, where, for specific solutions. There are solutions which are focused on defense and secure applications and so on and so forth. So therefore, the use cases in IC, it is not as if 4G did not have enterprise use case. It had. But obviously here, I think it would come with a lot more capabilities. So what I see here essentially is a great opportunity for companies to innovate not only in the development of these of the hardware and the technologies, but also in the use cases itself. The use case itself would be an innovation, because you will see different flavors and different in different settings. So and therefore I think the sky is the limit. So I guess a lot of the service-based companies which can offer innovative solutions would certainly sprout, small to big, I think, because the entry barrier is quite limited, I think. Whereas probably in development of technology, it's still, a hard way, because obviously one has to invest in development of devices, etc., which will take a lot of time. So government, as far as we are concerned, I think today the Honorable Minister also released our USOF R&D guidelines. So which means that a lot of the startups which can apply under the scheme. This was a budget announcement of this year, setting apart 5% of the USOF fund. So we would be able to support a number of companies in development of technologies relating to use cases as well. So government support would remain facilitative. We will also encourage many of our state operators, whether it is BSNL or central public sector undertakings, because most of them do a lot of service delivery, I think. So both commercial as well as social. So all these settings would require deployment, and I'm sure that the 5G promises to provide a lot of efficiency and productivity gains. So it also underlies, it also supports the Honorable Prime Minister's philosophy of Gati Shakti, which means that, the focus on improving efficiency and productivity cutting across sectors. And I'm sure that 5G is one of those, instruments of achieving that goal.
And one other key instrument, given the endless opportunities that 5G comes with, sir, is the human potential as well, right? What about people who will be employed in these sectors? And the kinds of use cases that you guys spoke about would require a certain level of upskilling. How important do you think it is that we really work on upskilling the workforce for this digital transformation journey that 5G is going to bring?
That's right. So this is something which has caught our attention over the last 8-9 months. So we have been working with the Telecom Sector Skill Council, and we have jointly worked on with the telecom service providers. Mr. Bali is here, I think. So a number of new qualification packs and have been developed as a result of which I think we should be able to we should be able to actually do the skill training to provide the manpower which the solution providers need. It's going to be quite a challenge because I think this time around it's not one specific technology but a variety of use cases. But then the capabilities that are required to support these use cases would certainly be possible. So therefore, from that perspective, I think the TSSC and DOT will be working together along with the Ministry of Skill Development. And the target we have set about is to train at least about 1 lakh personnel in a variety of, and it's basically not, I mean, it could be a combination of both fresh skills as well as upskilling and reskilling people who are already working in this domain.
Saurabh, from the corporate side,
Yeah.
that's a very interesting space to be. I'll tell you what, whenever we go for these big tech conferences, and this is a proud moment for us at India Mobile Congress because we go to Barcelona for MWC and all over Vegas for all sorts of conventions. And the conversation at a lot of these AI conferences is AI going to take away your jobs?
Yeah.
Is technology taking away jobs? But over here, we're talking about upskilling and a certain type of upskilling which is necessary. So is it going to work largely as a supporting sort of ecosystem? How do you view it?
No, I think, thank you for the question, a great question, and I think Mr. Rajaraman has very beautifully articulated the requirement. I think 2-3 things. 5G, unlike the other technologies, is a digital native system, right? So it comes across, it is born in the digital era. So a lot of the skills that are required is a great smorgasbord of multiple digital technologies. So cloud, AI, computing, various skills, ML, IoT, etc., and all which come together. So 2-3 things. What computers did, computer science engineering was introduced as a part of the mainstream education for India when the entire computer revolution happened. We have come to that point today where education on 5G and skilling will have to be introduced as a part of the mainstream education of our country. I'm sure the government is thinking about it. It has to be a very critical component of the Skill India program. Right? So whatever we do in terms of startups, in terms of various facilities we provide, it will be a critical component of Skill India program. The education institutions or various other training courses that companies do will have to embed this now as a part of the regular trainings and programs. So it has to become mainstream. It can no longer be a so-called innovation story any further. 5G is real. It's here and now. It's going to hit us very soon. We're going to be using it in our daily lives every single day, and people are going to, we need people and the skills to essentially make full use of it. So that's a great potential this one comes across. I think, this entire story about AI or others is going to absolutely, replacing human skills is absolutely going to go away if you're going to take the full potential of 5G, because this is a great skilling initiative that we can take. And the last point essentially is, simply put, is India, and I think today Mr. Mittal also made that point, that India might have been a bit of a late starter in terms of implementing 5G, but can catch up very soon. And it's, it's not without facts. We can catch up because we are a country of, a very young country. We are a country of so many people, and therefore if those skills are imparted in the right manner, then yes, not only we can catch up, but lead. And that's the sentiment we saw today morning, and hats off to that.
It's fascinating. You said 5G is here to stay. 5G is real. A few years ago, before the pandemic, we were talking about the potential use cases of 5G. Today, on October 1st, 2022, we're seeing live demonstrations by the top companies in this country. And I think that's fascinating. But Mr. Rajaraman, it's interesting if we actually look at future-proofing ourselves. Because in the technology world, we always want to really forecast what it's going to be like. I know the government's already been, there's chatter about 6G and research on that generation as well. And then something that's been hogging a lot of the news world and Twitter really is all about satellite internet. What are your views and the government's views on satellite internet here in India with its use cases and potential? And more importantly, the fact that a concept like that could leapfrog the current existing technologies.
In a sense, you refer to 6G. What we are increasingly seeing is convergence of technologies. So essentially, going into 6G, I think you will find all these terrestrial, non-terrestrial networks all converging. So from that perspective, building high-quality, resilient networks would require the convergence, because then if you have a mobile phone, I think one would expect that seamlessly, irrespective of whether you are near a BTS or not, to give you the service. So that's already live. We have already seen some countries already launching that kind of thing. So we are working towards that, in the sense that we have made a reference to the regulator, TRI, for coming out with formulations on how we can use the spectrum from 27.5 to 28.5 on a what do you say, use case for terrestrial and non-terrestrial use cases. So which means that once the recommendations come, I think we should be able to put out that spectrum for auction, which means, or in a manner that TRI recommends. And after that, we would see probably an explosion of use cases. But it's not as if technologies are not around the corner. Already we have low Earth orbits, LEO, MEO constellations. With us, I think we have TRI. DOT has already given a license, letter of intent to OneWeb. For a LEO, MEO constellation. And we also have, I think for Geo also, I think an LOI has been issued. So we expect that that probably by middle of next year, one would have LEO, MEO constellations also hitting. And once these consumer devices become convergent, I think where one will be able to seamlessly switch between, already we have a couple of manufacturers which have provided, who have devices which can connect to both terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks. I'm sure that maybe in the next couple of years we will see increasing convergence. And India is a very diverse country. So therefore, if you look at the remotest regions, I think it would require this kind of devices and which are affordable at the same time, which are resilient to these kind of the geography and the geology, the terrain and all that. So therefore, from that perspective, DOT is very supportive of that. We would want to facilitate this convergence to happen, and we would also want to provide a facilitative environment for the emergence of this convergence. And it is not as if satellite communication has not moved to the next level. In India, I think Hughes Communication, for instance, has launched high throughput satellite. With the help of ISRO's HTS satellites, has already launched HTS services in the Northeast. So, we are moving towards that. LEO and MEO promises even better, broad speeds and so on and so forth.
I'm sure a lot of people all over the world will be very excited to hear of something so encouraging in terms of what's happening in India. Saurabh, when we're talking about some of these emerging technologies, and you spoke about the use cases earlier on, you were alluding to the potential of 5G. But at Accenture, I'd imagine that there's so much happening with the metaverse. There's so much in terms of cloud security. How imperative is it when we're talking about 5G and spreading it as a technology and making sure it's ubiquitous? How important and crucial is cybersecurity and how does that threat landscape evolve when we talk about 5G?
Well, very, very critical, even with or without 5G, frankly, Aayush. Right? So, cybersecurity is, it's as the name itself suggests, it's extremely critical simply because you are looking at the data, in most cases, personal data of a lot of consumers. You're looking at, in certain cases, even for corporate data, various insights into their business, right? And see, at the end of the day, I think, and one of my pet discussions I've had with a lot of the industry stalwarts is, in this entire mobile revolution that has happened from 1G to 4G to, or from, till 5G, the power has not resided in the hands of the consumer. The power has resided into various other institutions, right? For example, you don't get to choose today which data of yours should be monetized, right? Let's say there is a company which could ask you, you have given me 10 details. Would you want me to, share or rather use these 5 details, and I could pay you for it, right? You don't get paid for the data that you actually share with companies. In such a case, in that case where a cybersecurity point comes in, it's very, very critical because not only will it protect the data of consumers and enterprises, it will also transfer back the power of the data back to the consumers and to the enterprises in some manner, is my sense. With the advent of 5G, simply because the data throughput is going to be so intense, very powerful, very instantaneous, number of use cases are going to proliferate. It therefore makes all the more sense that, the aspects of cybersecurity are taken very, very seriously. And I think companies are taking a lot of steps on that front. In Accenture, even globally, we have seen, we have given a specific focus on security practice per se. Even our, results, when we declare, our results talks about the 3 or 4 key strategic initiatives we take. Security is one of them. We in fact report our numbers in terms of how much of work we do around security for companies, and that is something which is growing at a very fast pace, simply because of the evolving need that we see per se.
You know, Saurabh has set me up perfectly to have a 1-hour conversation on Web3, but we'll save you that conversation, maybe do it in a subsequent forum. But sir, just to sum it up, it's very interesting when we're talking about some of these buzzwords nowadays. Number one being democratization of data, decentralization, and then with 5G, I want to toss one more into the mix and get your thoughts on it, and that happens to be inclusive. How do we make this 5G revolution inclusive for all of India?
So, the Honorable Prime Minister talked about it today morning. So from that perspective, in the direction of the use of technology and the direction of the expansion of this technology within India is focus on inclusion, because obviously we've seen the benefits to the economy during the COVID phase, and how technology could lead to resilience in the economy and also support inclusion. And from the financial inclusion point of view, even in a non-pandemic situation, the JAM Trinity, I think you must have heard, I think Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile have been transformative. So therefore, from all these perspectives, we require this technology to be inclusive by design. So, and believe it, I think, the way India has progressed, I think unlike other countries, the affordability of the rates would be a major plus point in this country. I think we are affordable, and we have one of the lowest data rates, as the Honorable PM again explained in the morning. So from that perspective, that will continue to be so. So especially from the point of view of in today morning, we also saw various use cases. The commercial use cases obviously, can be anything for that matter. But for the social use cases, obviously it has to be affordable to all the millions and billions of people. And I think in India, the beauty is that volumes will make up for the low margins. And I think once the volume game involving billions of a billion customers, then obviously I think one would be able to afford a lower pricing point. So I would feel that it all stay affordable, especially for the retail consumer. The enterprise use case, that gets a different call. So from all these perspectives, we would want that to be that way, and we will be working with the industry towards that. And I'm sure that the industry already is leading in that front, and we hope that the inclusion part will not be affected. Then let me also put it this way. We also have the Universal Services Obligation Fund. So we will ensure that if there are any connectivity gaps for lack of viability in a particular place, we will fill it up with government investment in 5G networks down the road. I think maybe in a year or two. I think obviously there is a rollout obligation time. Which has been given to the TSPs. So once we are past that and we see coverage gaps, the government will come in.
Fascinating and very refreshing, and I think it's a very proud moment that we're here at the India Mobile Congress, and we can talk about the public sector and from the private side, and a journalist asking all the questions and getting such candid and fascinating insights. You've been a lovely audience. Thanks so much.
Can I just add one thing though?
Of course.
I think one sentence away from holding everybody for dinner, but just as Mr. Rajaraman really pointed out, the word inclusion, and in India's context, essentially means all 130 crore people, net, right? And the entire ecosystem surrounding it. So rural, semi-urban, urban, all everybody coming together, right? So I truly believe, I don't want to sound like one of those web scam series which are coming where say India pe paisa laga do, bet on India, right? But the idea of India and the time of India has come with 5G, and no one can stop it.
I cannot outdo that. We need a round of applause for that. But gentlemen, thanks so much. For all of you all, you've been a lovely audience, and we won't keep you any longer. For everyone tuned in on Business Today TV, I think those are some fascinating insights. Again, thank you so much. And gentlemen, thank you for such a fascinating session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So do I get to stay?